The question older than time, should you advertise on Meta or should you advertise on Google? I'm going to be answering this question quite precisely, but in a matter that you probably would not think of. If you don't know me, I'm Danny, the high-level doctor. I've scaled my agency above 6 figures, and I help people do the same. So let's get into this. So the first thing we want to consider, actually, let me draw these logos here. Oh, that's horrible. There we go. Okay, that's a decent drawing. Okay, so when deciding if we should advertise on Meta or Google, we must decide, first of all, what we're even optimizing for. And what we want to optimize for when running advertisements is, first of all, as high of an LTV as possible, lifetime customer value, how much money can we actually get from an acquisition? And secondly, quite understandably, how much does acquisition actually cost? You know, the cost of acquired customer. But the two things we must optimize for, these two things are going to decide which platform we must run our ads on and how good our ads are actually going to be, are the following two things. First of all, who else is contesting this piece of media when they're trying to buy it? So if you think about it, everything, even if it comes to like newspaper advertising, every piece of advertising that we buy, because that's what we're doing, is a piece of media. So you have this person's profile picture, yet they have a title and they have a post. This is what a Facebook post looks like. Okay, maybe in the next one, they have an image. Cool, they have a title, a Facebook page, and an image. And next up, this is an ad. Okay, this is going to be the same thing, but it's going to say ad. Well, this is just a post that you bought. Okay, it wasn't placed here by the algorithm, you paid for it. Same thing with Google. Instead of, having a bunch of posts here organically, they have a bunch of posts, but the first 2 or 3 or however many are actually going to be ads, and people are going to pay for these. So they're just regular pieces of media. This is very important to understand, but they are paid for media. And when it comes to looking at this in a bit more of a micro lens, what we actually find is that there's very specific pieces of media that we can test. That's what we call media buying. It's a bidding system, actually. So what we want to look at here is if we want to target, let's say, roofing, we want to work for a roofing contractor company, and we actually want to target people who want to buy roofs. We're going to be looking at, well, what location are they in? That's going to be one of our targeting angles. Also, what are their interests? Maybe we want to target for some specific things like, I don't know, home improvement, and they live in like, let's say Texas or, whatever place. If you're doing roofing, I wouldn't recommend going into Texas, but that's another story. And also, we also want to contest specific ad slots. So maybe we want to contest, ads on the feed like this one, because, on Meta, you also have Instagram and Facebook. And within Instagram and Facebook, you have ads in the messaging tab, ads in stories, ads in the marketplace. There's so many things to decide. So you have a lot of settings here, and all of these help you decide which piece of media do you want to contest. Now, the thing is, this might seem logical to contest these kind of settings if you're actually trying to get roofing clients, but also every other roofer in the world is thinking this. And this is why the most popular approach of actually running ads is to run a broad set of ads and to run a narrow set of ads, okay? You can teach Meta to do this dynamically for you, but a lot of people, especially back in the day, do this system. And it also works perfectly today, so I recommend you do this as well. Now, sometimes the narrow one will perform better because people simply don't have your settings. Now, of course, these settings actually have to work, because if you set the wrong settings, it doesn't really matter if you're getting cheap leads if they're not going to fucking convert. So again, this is the most important thing. But also, sometimes it will happen that just so many people are targeting these specific criteria that it's just going to be better for you to go broad and just let Meta do the magic for you. So this is what I mean when I say actually buying the pieces of media which aren't contested but are good enough for your ideal customer avatar. And this brings us to a second point: the people who you're targeting are the most important part. Do the people who imminently need to buy your product actually exist in the places which you're targeting? We might think that Google is the best for this because, if we look at a funnel, well, they enter at like the middle of the funnel pretty much because they already show so much intent. They only need to go a tiny bit for the conversion to happen usually. Whereas in Meta, we just shove dog food in front of them or some random ad on lawn mowing or something in their feed. That doesn't mean they want to buy dog food or lawn mowing, right? So they start from up here. However, we must understand that there's first of all lower volume that we can bid for on Google because there are less Google searches than there are people viewing ads on Facebook. People view like billions, if not like fucking trillions of ads a day on Facebook. And on Google, people only do so many searches and you're only showing like 1 or 2 ads per search. But secondly, Google is very, very targeted. So people are not going to go that much broad on Google. They're going to be targeting very specific keywords. Like if you were doing a roofing company, best believe the word roofing and roof and all of these kind of things are going to be in there, okay? These are going to be very contested keywords. Now, of course, there's a lot more that goes into this. I'm really, really dumbing it down, and the content of your ad, actually making a good ad, which is customer friendly, they actually stay on the platform, etc., is very, very important. But what we really want to get to understanding here is if the person who you're targeting wants to buy your product and you can target them in a place which isn't super contested, you're going to get your cost of acquisition down very low. So based on this logic, there's two instances in which I really recommend going for Google over Meta. In the other cases, I'd usually go Meta, but Google can really work for two specific types of companies. The first one is when you can just outbid pretty much anyone. When you have an insane product, and even if you bid for like a contested keyword, you have a very, very solid brand and you have a very expensive product that just sells. So this means even if your cost per acquisition is somewhat high, your lifetime value is still going to crush it, because even if you acquire customers for quite a high price, you're still making a profit on it. And Google works in this way where if you're outbidding your competition, you're actually willing to give Google more money for the same keywords, they're going to be shoving you in front of everyone's faces, especially if you build a good landing page with it. So if you have that kind of position for your company, it's going to be very, very easy for you to print money on Google. But maybe even more importantly, the second one is if you can really, really well search for intent, okay? And what I mean by intent is most people think that when you enter a Google funnel, people are just going to be here and they're going to be ready to buy. But with most niches, that's actually not the case. A lot of times when people enter the keywords roofing and stuff like this, they're actually not looking to buy from the first company. They talk to multiple people, and usually they just have a vague idea that they need a new roof in their head. They see their neighbor's roof and they're like, oh, maybe I need a new roof as well. They see that one piece of the tile or the slate or whatever they use from their roof has fallen down, and they're like, I got to get that fixed sometime. And then they end up buying 7 months later down the line, which means most people searching for this keyword, going with this roofing example, are actually quite low intent buyers. And you're paying for clicks which aren't actually that high intent. However, if you can guarantee that every single person who is searching for your keyword and actually clicking on the things that you're bidding and paying for, you are going to print. And the way to guarantee that is by going for niches that actually really have high intent customers. So some examples for this would be like plumbing and locksmithing. Like if your toilet's broken or you're getting your kitchen flooded or you lock yourself out of your house, well, you're going to need to get that resolved instantly. And people don't really, maybe I'm going to buy a locksmith. Like, why would you buy a locksmith if you're not locked out of your house? So this means pretty much every search that is going to be on these kind of keywords, they're going to be very high intent. Like they're going to buy 80+% of the time. And this way you're not actually paying for any low intent people. Whereas if you're looking at like maybe solar or something like this, although it makes sense with your rational brain that, people are going to be searching for this and they're going to end up buying, so Google's much better. Well, are they? Are they actually going to be buying just because they're searching for this thing? A lot of people just scour around the internet and collect information and then only end up deciding 6 months later. Now, again, I'm not saying this can't work. A lot of people do bid on Google and it's a good strategy overall. But what I found is a lot of these niches actually just perform better on Meta, especially if you build good backend systems along with it. And the reason Google works so well for these niches is because you can't really add like an intent on Facebook or any other platform. Did this person's toilet break in the last 24 hours? Did they lock themselves out of their house? So you can't really target for these kind of people on Facebook. And of course, like if this happens to them, then they're just going to be searching like on Google. They're not going to be fucking browsing their feed, hoping that some kind of ad pops up. It doesn't make any sense. And so in these niches where the delta between the time when they search for you and the time when they buy is actually very, very low, they're actually very, very intentful, there I would definitely go Google. Or if you can just straight up outbid your competition and you're like a big established brand with premium products. And this has really been my experience over all of my advertising, which I've spent, I think, millions of dollars so far on, at the very minimum, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and also all of my clients combined. It's just usually Meta performs best with most niches, but there are some specific use cases where Google just crushes it. Also, one more thing before I end the video, this is a whole Mozi-ism. He said buying your name is actually worth it for everyone, which makes a lot of sense, And the reason this is so important is because if your business name is, I don't know, 123 for this example, and someone searches for 123, right? They write your name in the search bar. This is a cute search bar here. And let's say you don't have ads for your name and you pop up here at the top result of the organic searches, but someone pops up here and the name is 5 and this person's name is 8. And, most people are going to have the logical mind to actually determine that you're the first organic result. But there are going to be some people who just click on the first link instinctively. So the best way to actually make sure this doesn't happen is just to buy your name. Because if you're buying people who already have 100% intent, because remember, this is, again, what we're going back to. These people are 100% sold on buying from you already. You're not going to be losing any money. You're going to be losing those people if you don't buy this, potentially. Every, 10th or 20th person who searches your name and don't actually click on your business, well, that's a guaranteed sale lost. So if you really want to build out an offer which you can charge a lot for, especially further down the line, if you're making like a whole bundle of things tied together to make sure that you're providing the best marketing service possible, even if you're not doing Google as your main thing, you want to add Google ads where you target the business's name. So I hope this helped you decide what platform you want to be advertising on. One more thing is, like, I can give you all of this theory and where to advertise and whatnot, but like the biggest determinant of if you're actually going to be printing money, getting good qualified quality leads, is how well you run your ads and your backend systems. And the way to make A1 systems is with High Level. So if you haven't signed up, the first link in the description is going to be a free trial link. And if you sign up with my link right now, it's a limited time offer. I can't promise that this will stay forever, but if you're watching this video and the link is still there and I don't say otherwise, and I will literally help you set up these systems for yourself to make sure that your ads crush, whether it's Google or Meta. So yeah, hope that helps. Goodbye.